All right, friends, today we're going to start a lesson inspired by the book, We're All Wonders. And it's going to be a self-portrait that's more about who we are as people than what we actually look like. You're going to have two markers for this lesson. One is a big fat marker and one is a thin marker, so you can get two different qualities of line. We're going to start by making the outline of you. You may start in pencil. I'm going to start straight away in marker because I have a pretty good idea of what I want mine to look like. I'm making a letter U. I'm making two C's, one for each ear. I'm gonna make the outline of my hair. I have bangs. Bangs is just hair that kind of comes down on your face. Then the outline of my hair. So where my hair parts is right here and then down. So if you chose to do this first in pencil, you would just do the same thing I'm doing, only it'll look like you. And then you'll take that marker and go right over it. Now in this self-portrait, I would like you to include one eye. If you would like to include two eyes or other facial features, that's fine. The cover of the book Wonder has an eye, so I thought it would be fun if we added at least one eye. To draw an eye, I'm making a rainbow shape, an arc. Then under that, I'm making almost like a smiley face. It's the opposite, the mirror image of what I just made. I'm gonna make a semicircle. This is not a full circle. If I made a full circle, I'll make it right here for you. It would look like my eye was open really, really wide and I was freaked out. So this looks more like an actual eye. Now I'm gonna make the pupil, that's the black part of my eye. Now if I'd like, I can add eyelashes. You don't have to if you would not like to. All right, now I'm going to think about what words describe me. And remember, I have those two markers, so I can use both of them as I'm adding lettering. What you're going to do is look through this adjective list, adjectives are describing words, and find words that describe you. When the word describes you a lot, like I think I'm pretty artistic, I'm gonna make that word bigger. And I wanna choose a font or lettering style that kind of matches. So for the word artistic, I'm using like a curly Q. Okay, another word that describes me, I would say, is strong. So for the word strong, I think that describes me quite a bit. I'm gonna use this kind of lettering because to me that lettering feels strong. And you can see that I've turned my paper and I can even rotate it a little bit as I'm working. T-R-O-N-G. I'm still using this big marker. You can use the small marker if you want. I'm gonna switch in a little bit. Something else I am is silly. So I'm gonna do S-I-L-L-Y, and to make this look silly, I'm gonna do exclamation point, smiley face, then like his tongue's hanging out for silly. I think I'm joyful. I'm usually pretty happy. Maybe I'll put a little smiley face next to the word joyful. I think I'm fair. I can write in cursive if I know how to write in cursive. I can underline words or make little lines around it. Maybe I'll do that around strong. Make strong, kind of bigger lines and even a big underline. Now I'm gonna switch to my smaller marker. For the words that describe me a little bit, but maybe not quite as much, I'm gonna make slightly smaller. I think I'm confident, but I don't think that's one of the big things about me. I'm gonna make a little cloud around that for just an interesting design. I think I am witty. Not super witty, but pretty witty. At least I think so. And maybe I'll circle that word just to give it something special and unique that make it different from like normal writing. I think I am, let's see, proud. I think I'm gonna write that in all capitals because to me that seems proud. And so you might come across this problem here. Look, I'm about to run into my word artistic. So what I'm gonna do is just go down, P-R-O-U-D. I don't want you to stress out if that happens to you because it's probably gonna happen to you. I also am looking for like a small word for a small area. So I was looking for a small word, I found the word free. Again, I can underline, circle, make designs around things to make them look more interesting. I can change the type of lettering I do. Maybe for caring, I'll do a little heart around it. Leader. And now I am almost out of space here. And it's about time to add color. Friends, now we're gonna play around with watercolors to add color to our self-portraits that don't look so much like us, but tell a lot about us. Watercolors are different because they're not actually paint until you add water. Right now, they're just kind of like blocks. So what I need to do is take my paintbrush and swirl water into it until there's like a puddle of color. Now, when you are painting today, I want you to choose warm or cool colors. Warm colors are fire colors on this side. Cool colors are like cold water colors on this side. The reason I want you to do that is because if you mix all these colors together, you're gonna wind up with a yucky brownish gray color. If you choose one side, it won't matter if your colors mix some. I think I'm going to choose warm colors. The first technique I want you to play with is called wet on wet. That's where you add water to an area. You can see kind of that that's shimmering. And you take a little dip of color and you just drop it onto the wet. And I'm gonna put it up close to you so you can see how it spreads. And as long as you're choosing from that same color area, so I'll pick an orange, it's okay if you do them near each other and they kind of blend together. That technique is called wet on wet. Another way to use watercolors is called blotting. That's where you fill an area with color, and then you take a paper towel and you blot it. And you can see that that left a texture. The last way I'm going to show you today is by adding salt. And to do salt painting, you take the paint and you just put it onto the paper. And while it's still wet, you're gonna take just a little pinch. It doesn't work if you do a lot. A little pinch of salt and sprinkle it. Once you put the salt on, you leave it. You can't move it around and you let it sit. What happens is the salt absorbs the paint and leaves a crystal-like texture on your paper. Now this was just to get us familiar with the watercolors, so I'm ready to move forward on my painting. I wanna show you real quick how I don't want you to use the watercolors, okay? You don't want to add just a little water and scrub until you get paint out. It'll feel sticky and gooey and the paint goes on really thick. That's not the way watercolors are meant to be used. They are meant to be transparent, meaning I can almost see through them. If yours looks really thick, if your paintbrush feels thirsty or scratchy, or if your paint gets gooey, you know you're not adding enough water. So now I'm ready for paint, and like I said, I'm choosing warm colors, and I'm gonna play around with these techniques. I'm gonna start with wet on wet, and I'm just putting some water, and my water is a little bit orange tinted at this point, around my paper. Now I'm dipping into my color, and I'm just gonna spread it around on my paper. Now as I'm doing this, I'm remembering that my paintbrush is like a ballerina. Ballerinas dance on their tiptoes. The tiptoes are the top of the hair. They never ever scoot on their bottoms. This is the bottom of a paintbrush. It's the metal part. If you're dragging it around, you will rip your paper. So remember, your paintbrush is a ballerina. And you see right here, I got that on a little too thick. I'm just gonna take this and blot it off. Now it's nice and transparent again. If I get it on too thick, you won't be able to see all my beautiful lettering that I did before. I'm gonna add a little more water. I'm never mixing the colors, and I'm always remembering that my paintbrush is like a ballerina. I'm just gonna rotate my page, add water to this side, and I'll add some salt at the last minute. I'm working pretty quickly, so I think my water will still be wet on my paper. The key with watercolors is not to overwork it and don't add too much. You paint an area one time, and then you just kind of let it be. I think I could use a little right in here. All right, so now mine is still wet. I'm gonna take just a sprinkle of watercolor, put it around my paper. If there were any areas I wanted to do dabbing, I can also do that, but I kind of decided I didn't want to do too much of that on mine. So now I'm gonna let it dry. I will show you how the salt looks when it's dry. All right guys, and you can see here, and mine is actually blue tinted salt. Yours may or may not be. But these little, guys, and you can see what the salt did here. Mine was actually blue tinted salt. Yours may or may not be, but you can see that it left these little crystally shapes that are super fun. So that's how you can use salt in your watercolor. And my piece is about done. It's still a little bit wet, but it tells a lot about me, and not just how I look, but about who I actually am.